lamb was sure to go. He followed her to school one day. That was against the rule. It made the children laugh and play to see a lamb at school. Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. He followed her to school one day. That was against the rule. It made the children laugh and play to see a lamb at school. Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. He followed her to school one day. That was against the rule. It made the children laugh and play to see a lamb at school. Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon. The little dog laughed to see such sport, and the dish ran away with the spoon. Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon. The little dog laughed to see such sport, and the dish ran away with the spoon. Baba, black sheep, have you any wool? Yes sir, 3 bags full. One for the master and one for the dame, but none for the little boy that lives down the lane. Baba, black sheep, have you any wool? Yes sir, 3 bags full. One for the master and one for the dame, but none for the little boy that lives down the lane. Little Polly Flinders sat among the cinders, warming her pretty little toes. Her mother came and caught her and smacked her little daughter for spoiling her nice new clothes. Little Polly Flinders sat among the cinders, warming her pretty little toes. Her mother came and caught her and smacked her little daughter for spoiling her nice new clothes. Here we go gathering nuts in May, nuts in May, nuts in May. Here we go gathering nuts in May on a cold and frosty morning. Here we go gathering nuts in May, nuts in May, nuts in May. Here we go gathering nuts in May on a cold and frosty morning. London's burning, London's burning. Fetch the engines, fetch the engines. Fire, 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 fire. Pour on water, pour on water. London's burning, London's burning. Fetch the engines, fetch the engines. Fire, 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 fire. Pour on water, pour on water. London's burning, London's burning. Fetch the engines, fetch the engines. Fire, 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 fire. Pour on water, pour on water. Sing a song of sixpence, a pocket full of rye, 4 and 20 blackbirds baked in a pie. When the pie was opened, the birds began to sing. Oh, wasn't that a dainty dish to set before the king? The king was in his counting house, counting out his money. The queen was in the parlor, eating bread and honey. maid was in the garden, hanging up the clothes, when up came a blackbird and pecked off her nose. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men caught and put Humpty together again. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men caught and put Humpty together again. Sur la pente d'Avignon, l'on danse sur la pente d'Avignon, l'on danse tout en rond. Sur la pente d'Avignon, l'on danse sur la pente d'Avignon, l'on danse tout en rond. Dance to your daddy, my little laddie. Dance to your daddy, my little lamb. You shall have a fishy on a little dishy. You shall have a fishy when the boat comes in. Dance to your daddy, my little laddie. Dance to your daddy, my little lamb. Dance to your daddy, my little laddie. Dance to your daddy, my little lamb. You shall have a fishy on a little dishy. You shall have a fishy when the boat comes in. Dance to your daddy, my little laddie. Dance to your daddy, my little lamb. Girls and boys come out to play. The moon does shine as bright as day. Leave your supper, leave your sleep, and join your fellows in the street. Come with a whoop and come with a call. Come with a goodwill or not at all. Up the ladder and down the wall. A penny loaf will serve us all. Cock-a-doodle-doo, my dame has lost her shoe. My master's lost his fiddling stick and doesn't know what to do. Cock-a-doodle-doo, my dame has found her shoe. My master's found his fiddling stick, so cock-a-doodle-doo. Ding dong bell, pussy's in the well. Who put her in? Little Tommy Green. Who pulled her out? Little Tommy Stout. What a naughty boy was that, to trap a pussycat who never did any harm but killed all the mice in his father's barn. Ding dong bell, pussy's in the well. Who put her in? Little Tommy Green. Who pulled her out? Little Tommy Stout. What a naughty boy was that, to drown a pussycat who never did any harm but killed all the mice in his father's barn. Georgie, Porgy, pudding and pie kissed the girls and made them cry. When the boys come out to play, Georgie, Porgy ran away, ran away. Georgie, Porgy, pudding and pie kissed the girls and made them cry. When the boys came out to play, Georgie, Porgy ran away, ran away. Here we go round the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush. Here we go round the mulberry bush on a cold and frosty morning. This is the way we wash our hands, we wash our hands, we wash our hands. This is the way we wash our hands. wash our clothes on a cold and frosty morning. Hush-a-bye, baby, on the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bough breaks, the cradle will fall, and down will come cradle and baby and all. Hush-a-bye, baby, on the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bough breaks, the cradle will fall, and down will come cradle and baby and all. I saw three ships come sailing by, sailing by, sailing by. I saw three ships come sailing by on Christmas Day in the morning. And what do you think was in them then? In them then, in them then. And what do you think was in them then on Christmas Day in the morning? London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady. Oh dear, what can the matter be, dear, dear? What can the matter be? Oh dear, what can the matter be? Johnny's so long at the fair. He promised he'd buy me a fairing should please me, and then for a kiss, oh how he teased me. He promised he'd bring me a bunch of blue ribbons to tie up my bonny brown hair. Oh dear, what can the matter be, dear, dear? What can the matter be? Oh dear, what can the matter be? Johnny's so long at the fair. He promised he'd bring me a basket of posies, a garland of lilies, a garland of roses, little straw hat to set off blue ribbons that tie up my bonny brown hair. Oh dear, what can the matter be, dear, dear? What can the matter be? Oh dear, what can the matter be? Johnny's so long at the fair. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. When the blazing sun has gone, when he nothing shines upon, then you show your little light. Twinkle, twinkle, all the night. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Old King Cole was a merry old soul, and a merry old soul was he. He called for his pipe, and he called for his bowl, and he called for his fiddlers three. Every fiddler had a fiddle so fine, and a very fine fiddle had he. Oh, there's none so rare as can compare with King Cole and his fiddlers three. Pussycat, pussycat, where have you been? I've been to London to look at the Queen. Pussycat, pussycat, what did you there? I caught a mouse under her chair. Pussycat, pussycat, where have you been? I've been to London to look at the Queen. Pussycat, pussycat, what did you there? I caught a mouse under her chair. A ring and down the city road, in and out the eagle. That's the way the money goes. Pop goes the weasel. Half a pound of twopenny rice, half a pound of treacle. That's the way the money goes. Pop goes the weasel. Up and down the city road, in and out the eagle. That's the way the money goes. Pop goes the weasel. Half a pound of twopenny rice, half a pound of treacle. That's the way the money goes. Pop goes the weasel. Seesaw, Marjorie Daw, Johnny shall have a new master. He shall have a penny a day because he can't work any faster. Seesaw, Marjorie Daw, Johnny shall have a new master. He shall have a penny a day because he can't work any faster. Oranges and lemons, says the bells of St. Clements. You owe me 5 farthings, says the bells of St. Martin's. When will you pay me, says the bells of Old Bailey. When I grow rich, says the bells of Shoreditch. When will that be, says the bells of Stepney. I do not know, says the great bell of Bow. Here comes a candle to light you to bed, and here comes a chopper to chop off your head. Jack Sprat could eat no fat, his wife could eat no lean, and so between them both, you see, they licked their platter clean. 3 blind mice, see how they run. They all ran after the farmer's wife, who cut off their tails with a carving knife. Did you ever see such a thing in your life as 3 blind mice? Little Bo Peep has lost her sheep and can't tell where to find them. Leave them alone and they'll come home and bring their tails behind them. Old Mother Hubbard, she went to the cupboard to fetch the poor dog a bone. When she got there, the cupboard was bare, and so the poor dog had none. She went to the baker to buy him some bread, but when she got back, the poor dog was dead. Little Jack Horner sat in the corner eating a Christmas pie. He put in his thumb and pulled out a plum and said, "What a good boy am I." Little boy blue, come blow your horn. The sheep's in the meadow, the cow's in the corn. Where's the boy that looks after the sheep? He's under the haycock, fast asleep. Will you waken him? No, not I, for if I do, he's sure to cry. Lucy Locket lost her pocket, Kitty Fisher found it, but never penny was there in except the binding round it. Little Miss Muffet sat on the tuffet, eating her curds and whey. There came a great spider and sat down beside her and frightened Miss Muffet away. Pat a cake, baker's man, bake me a cake as fast as you can. Break it and pat it and knock it with me, toss it up high for baby and me. Simple Simon met a pieman going to the fair. Said Simple Simon to the pieman, let me taste your ware.
There once lived a very rich merchant who had 6 children, 3 girls and 3 boys, and he had spared nothing when it came to their education. Now the 3 daughters were all extremely pretty, but particularly the youngest, who was just so beautiful that as a child everyone had called her Beauty. As she grew, she remained equally as lovely, and so no one called her by any other name, and this made her sisters very jealous of her. Now it so happened that due to some unfortunate accident, the merchant suddenly lost all his wealth and was left with nothing but a small cottage in the country. He told his daughters they'd have to live in the cottage and they'd all have to work hard. The 2 eldest replied that they didn't know how to work, and anyway, they had lovers who would be glad to marry them. But they were mistaken, as no one wanted them. Beauty was the one they all felt sorry for, as she was so nice and kind to everyone. And while several gentlemen offered to marry her, she refused because she wouldn't leave her father while he was in trouble. Sometimes Beauty cried in secret for the hardship she now had to suffer, but she decided all the crying in the world wouldn't do any good. After shifting to the cottage, the merchant and his 3 sons worked in the fields and garden. Beauty rose at 4 in the morning, lit the fires, cleaned the house, and made breakfast for the whole family. At first she found it quite hard, but she soon grew used to it, and the work made her more beautiful than ever. She even found time to read, play, and sing while she spun. But her 2 sisters were quite lost. They had breakfast in bed, and rose about 10 o'clock, went walking, and even that made them tired. They couldn't understand how Beauty could be so happy. After about a year, the merchant received news that one of his richest ships, which he had thought was lost, had come into port. So the merchant had to travel to his ship, but before he left, the 2 eldest daughters begged with him to bring them back new gowns, capes, and jewellery, while Beauty asked for nothing. Well, she had decided there wouldn't be enough money after everything her sisters wanted. However, rather than upset them, she did ask for a rose. His trip was worthless, and he started back home as poor as he had left it. On his way, he saw some fine roses, and as he plucked the prettiest one, a most frightful-looking beast rose up and asked why he dared touch these flowers. The beast spoke of killing him, but after the merchant explained that it was for one of his daughters, the beast decided the merchant could send one of them in his place, provided she came willingly. This decided, the beast then asked him into his palace for the night. As soon as the merchant arrived home, the daughters could see by his face that something was wrong, and on hearing the story, they blamed Beauty for their misfortune. So in spite of what her father and brothers said, Beauty was quite willing to go to the beast in her father's place. When they arrived at the palace doors, which were open, they heard music and walked into a room where supper was laid. After they had eaten, the beast appeared, and after being told that Beauty had come willingly, he sent her father home. A special room had been set aside for Beauty, and she was treated well. One day, the beast asked Beauty, "Am I so very ugly?" "Yes, indeed you are," she replied. "But you're so kind, I don't mind your looks." "Will you marry me then?" asked the beast. And Beauty just said, "Please don't ask me." It was a beautiful palace, and Beauty discovered so many things as she went around it each day. She was, in fact, quite the queen of the palace, but very lonely. The beast kept asking her to marry him, and she continued to shake her head, even though she liked him more and more. Having everything didn't make her happy, as she kept thinking of her father and brothers and sisters, so much so that one evening she asked the beast if he'd let her go home. He agreed to let her go for 2 months, and he gave her a ring, telling her to place it on her dressing table whenever she desired to go or to return. He gave her clothes to wear and presents to take home. The poor beast was sadder than ever, but Beauty promised to return soon. Going to her room that evening, she remembered to place the ring on the dressing table, and when she awoke the next morning, she found herself in her father's cottage. She rang a bell that was at her bedside, and a servant entered, but as soon as she saw Beauty, the woman gave a loud shriek, which brought the merchant dashing upstairs. He was so thrilled to see his daughter. Her 2 sisters were now married. At last Beauty remembered she had brought no clothes with her, but the servant told her she had found a large chest full of dresses all trimmed with gold in the other room. Beauty quietly thanked the Beast in her own mind and put on the plainest gown she could find. She asked the servant to put the rest aside, as she intended to give them to her sisters. As soon as she spoke those words, the chest had disappeared, and when her father suggested that the Beast chose for her to keep them, the chest reappeared in the same place. Next thing, their sisters and husbands came to visit. They both lived unhappily with the gentleman they had married. The husband of the eldest was very handsome, and he thought of nothing else but his pride. He certainly didn't care a pin for his wife's beauty. The second sister had married a most learned man, but he made no use of it except to anger all his friends, and most of all his wife. The two sisters couldn't bear it when they saw Beauty dressed like a princess. All of the kindness that she showed them was of no use, and they went by themselves into the garden and cried, just thinking about her good fortune. "Why should the little wretch be better off than we?" they said. "We're more beautiful than she is." The two spiteful sisters decided to try and keep Beauty at home for longer than she was meant to be, hoping that when she returned to the palace, the Beast would be so angry with her that he would eat her up. To do this, of course, meant they had to pretend to be very kind. When they returned to the cottage, the sisters showed her so much false love that Beauty was overjoyed. And when her 2 months was up, the sisters showed such grief and the thought of her leaving them that she agreed to stay 1 more week. All that time, Beauty couldn't help worrying about the Beast and how sad he would be with her continued absence. She realized that she loved him and missed his company. No one else she met was half so affectionate and kind. One night, she dreamt that the Beast was lying dead in his palace garden, and when she suddenly awoke, she burst into tears, thinking how wicked she was to behave so badly to the Beast when he had shown so much kindness. Quickly she rose and placed the ring on the dressing table, got back into bed, and fell asleep again. In the morning, she found herself back at the palace, and carefully she dressed herself that she might please the Beast. After looking for him in the palace, she remembered her dream, and running outside to the garden, she found him beside the fountain, apparently dead. Forgetting all his ugliness, she threw herself down beside him, and finding his heart still beating, she fetched some water, all the while weeping and crying. The Beast opened his eyes and said, "You broke your promise of only 2 months, and so I was determined to die. I can't live without you, but having seen your face once more, I can die happy." "Oh, no, dear Beast," cried Beauty. "You can't die. You must live to be my husband. All this time I thought we were only friends, but I love you." All at once the palace lit up, but Beauty didn't notice, for she had hung her head and was crying. When she looked up, the Beast was gone, and there stood a most handsome prince who thanked her for having freed him. But Beauty sobbed and wanted to know where her poor Beast was. It so happened a wicked fairy had changed the prince into a beast, and only a beautiful lady, happy to marry him in that form, could reverse the spell. Beauty was so happy, and back in the palace were her father and 2 sisters, brought there by the fairy lady. The 2 sisters were turned into statues to stand at the door of the palace until they had mended their faults of jealousy and unkind thoughts. "Beauty," said the fairy, "you have chosen well, and you have your reward, for a true heart is better than either good looks or clever brains." The merchant was delighted with his daughter's good fortune, and the prince was married to Beauty on the following day. years ago, on a bright, sunny morning, a king and his queen, their baby daughter Diana, and a few servants set off on horseback to ride to their summer palace for a holiday. Unfortunately, they had to ride through a large forest, which was well known to have robbers and highwaymen lurking there. But the king was quite sure no one would harm him. How wrong he was. Suddenly, from among the trees, a large group of riders appeared, and after a short, swift fight, they kidnapped the king and queen and all their servants. No one had noticed the maid drop the baby Diana under a tree, and there she was left. Fortunately, that same day, some hunters from a village were out looking for food, and they heard this whimpering sound. Looking around, they found, much to their surprise, a baby. Well, not knowing how she came to be there or who she was, they decided to take her back with them to their village, as she was obviously cold and hungry. So Diana grew up among these village people, who were very poor, but very kind folk. To eat, they always had to go out hunting for food, and this meant sometimes being away for days from the village, especially during each autumn, as they had to track down many animals to store for their winter food. Diana, as a very young girl, would join these hunting trips, and as she grew, she became the best huntress in the land, and she was extremely fast on her feet. She was better than all the other children, except perhaps one, who happened to be the son of the family who also looked after Diana. Often they went off together and used their bows and arrows to kill animals, or else they ran races against each other. In fact, they became so proficient at hunting and running that they soon outclassed the men of the village, and their fame spread through the countryside. Meanwhile, the king and queen had managed to escape from their kidnappers, and through the years Diana was growing up in the village. They never stopped wondering as to what had happened to their baby daughter. In fact, year after year, they sent messengers to every part of the land looking for Diana or seeking news of her. Well, it so happened that one day a messenger rode into Diana's village, and after talking to the head men there, everyone realized that their Diana, swift of foot and the best huntress in the land, was the missing daughter. She was brought before the messenger and told the whole story. He couldn't believe that this beautiful creature, who really was a princess, could be the huntress and runner. However, Diana was to leave the village and return to her parents. But before she left, she found her friend and told him she would never forget him as long as she lived, and there would never be anyone to equal him. Of course, you can imagine what a feast was held at the palace the day Diana returned. The king and queen were so proud of their beautiful daughter they wanted everyone to see her. She was dressed in fine clothes and had everything she could possibly want. As the time passed, Diana began to miss her life in the village, and all her parents wanted was for her to marry a handsome prince and live happily ever after. However, every suitor brought before Diana was turned down until her father, the king, begged with Diana to take a husband. She was known to leave the palace by the back entrance and to go off to the forests on her own to run and hunt, and this kept her happy. But to please her father, she agreed to marry the man who should beat her in a running contest. Now, Diana knew there was no one in the whole land who could run faster than she, and gradually from all parts of the land, and from other countries as well, came men prepared to race against Diana. Her father became most unhappy as race after race Diana kept winning, and by such large margins. One fine day, though, there appeared at the palace gates a most handsome, tall stranger. When questioned, the stranger replied he was no prince, just a simple hunter. The king took a great liking to this honest young man, and because he so much wanted Diana to marry, he decided to help the stranger to hopefully win the race. Not knowing he was the playmate of Diana's village days, the king told him that Diana's one fondness was gold, and he would give the young man 3 golden apples to try and put Diana off her stride in the race. To Diana, it was just another race, and because she was in a hurry to get away to the forest, she didn't recognize her friend of years ago. Suddenly the race was underway, and the tall stranger strode out ahead of Diana. As she started to gain on him, he swiftly dropped one of the golden apples. As it rolled towards her, Diana slowed and stooped to pick it up. But again she started to gain on him, and he dropped another golden apple, which Diana slowed to pick up. Still they kept running, and finally, as she was nearly level with him, he dropped the last golden apple. Well, Diana did pick it up, but little did she realize that the weight of the golden apples was slowing her, and the tall stranger won the race. Diana realized she had to marry him, and when she went to congratulate him on winning, he looked down at her and said, "Diana, you told me a long time ago you would never forget me." And suddenly Diana saw before her her most wonderful friend, and she was so very happy she even forgot about his tricking her with the golden apples so he could win the race. The king and queen were delighted, and the young man was made a prince, and he and Diana were married and lived happily ever after. Once upon a time there lived a prince whose one wish in life was to marry a princess, but she had to be a real princess. For a long time he travelled all over the world, looking and hoping to find such a lady. However, there was always something wrong. He managed to find plenty of princesses, but he found it impossible to decide as to whether they were real princesses or not. First one thing and then another seemed to him to be not quite right about them. Eventually he returned to his palace very depressed and upset because he so desperately wanted to have a real princess as his wife. One evening a most fearful storm blew up. It thundered, there was lightning, and the rain just poured down, and the night was pitch black. All at once there was a violent knocking on the door, and the old king, the prince's father, went to open it. Standing outside the door was a princess, and what with the rain and the wind, she looked a very sorry sight. The rain trickled down from her hair and over her face, and her clothes were just wringing wet as they clung to her body. She said she was a real princess. "Aha," thought the old Queen Mother, "we'll soon see about that." And she told no one about what she was going to do. Quietly she went into the bedroom where the princess was going to spend the night. She took off the bedclothes and placed a pea on the very bottom of the bed. After that, she then laid 20 feather mattresses, one on top of the other, and finally put 20 eiderdowns over the mattresses. The next morning, they asked the princess how she had slept. "Oh, very badly, I'm afraid," she replied. "I hardly closed my eyes or slept a wink the whole night. To be sure, I don't know just what was in my bed, but There was something very hard under me, and I'm black and blue all over. It did hurt me so very much." Now it was obvious that the young lady must definitely be a real princess, because she'd been able to feel that one pea through 20 feather mattresses and 20 eiderdowns. No one but a real princess could have had such an extremely delicate sense of feeling. So at long last the prince was happy, and he married the princess. As for the pea, well, it was placed in a glass cabinet, where it can still be seen. That is, unless someone has carried it off.
Here's a funny story about Chicken Licken. Once there was a little chick called Chicken Licken. One day he was scratching about the barnyard looking for food, when all of a sudden a nut fell off a tree and hit him on the head. It knocked him down, and he rolled over and over and over. When he picked himself up, he ran over to Henny Penny and cried, "Henny Penny, quickly run! The sky is falling." "Who told you that, little Chicken Licken?" asked Henny Penny. "Oh, something fell on my head when I was scratching for food, and it knocked me down, and I rolled over and over and over." "Quickly then, let us run," said Henny Penny. So they ran to the cock and said, "Oh, Cocky Locky, the sky is falling. We must run." "Who told you that, Henny Penny?" said Cocky Locky. "It was Chicken Licken," said Henny Penny. "I was scratching for food in the barnyard," said Chicken Licken, "when all of a sudden the sky fell on my head and rolled me over and over and over." "Let us run," said Cocky Locky, "and tell the king." So Chicken Licken, Henny Penny, and Cocky Locky ran on until they came to Ducky Lucky. "Oh, Ducky Lucky, the sky is falling, and we are running to tell the king," said Cocky Locky. "Who told you that?" said Ducky Lucky. "Henny Penny told me," said Cocky Locky. "Chicken Licken told me," said Henny Penny. "And I was scratching for food in the barnyard, when the sky fell on my head and rolled me over and over and over," said Chicken Licken. "Quickly then," said Ducky Lucky, "we must run and tell the king." So Chicken Licken, Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, and Ducky Lucky ran on until they came to Goosey Poosey. "Oh, Goosey Poosey, the sky is falling, and we are running to tell the king." "Who told you that?" said Goosey Poosey. "Cocky Locky told me," said Ducky Lucky. "Henny Penny told me," said Cocky Locky. "Chicken Licken told me," said Henny Penny. "And I was scratching for food in the barnyard when the sky fell on my head and rolled me over and over and over," said Chicken Licken. "Quickly then," said Goosey Poosey, "we must run and tell the king." So Chicken Licken, Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, Ducky Lucky, and Goosey Poosey ran on until they came to Foxy Loxy. "Oh, Foxy Loxy, the sky is falling, and we are running to tell the king." "Who told you that?" asked Foxy Loxy. "Ducky Lucky told me," said Goosey Poosey. "Cocky Locky told me," said Ducky Lucky. "Well, Henny Penny told me," said Cocky Locky. "And Chicken Licken told me," said Henny Penny. "Well, I was scratching for food in the barnyard," said Chicken Licken, "when the sky fell on my head and rolled me over and over and over." "Quickly then," said Foxy Loxy, "we must run and tell the king." So Chicken Licken, Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, Ducky Lucky, Goosey Poosey, and Foxy Loxy all ran off to tell the king. They ran and they ran and they ran until they were very tired. Then they came to a cave in the hillside, and crafty old Foxy Loxy said, "Let's go inside this cave to rest." So in went Chicken Licken, Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, Ducky Lucky, Goosey Poosey, and last of all, old Foxy Loxy. Foxy Loxy came out of the cave some time later, but Chicken Licken, Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, Ducky Lucky, and Goosey Poosey have never been heard of since.